On this edition, I'm going to break down, predict the upcoming fight at UFC 154 between Georges St-Pierre and Carlos Condit. Now, obviously, Georges St-Pierre is the welterweight champion. He hasn't fought since Jake Shields. He's been plagued with injuries. It's been very unfortunate, but now he's making his comeback into the octagon, and he'll be facing the interim welterweight champion in Carlos Condit. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to break down both fighters. I'm going to do my predictions. So I'll start with GSP. GSP is predominantly known for his foundation of wrestling. He's got a very good wrestling game and utilizes it effectively in the octagon. But his stand-up game continues to come a long way. He's a very well-balanced mixed martial arts. He really tries to not have any holes in his game. And I think the best part about Georges St-Pierre, besides his wrestling, is his physical attributes, his athleticism, his speed, and his hard work, his good work ethic. He's such an athlete. And it translates very well into his stand-up game, is that he does train boxing with Freddie Roach, does train Muay Thai. He is a dynamic striker. Is he the more dynamic striker in this fight, the better striker? No. I'm going to go as far to say that he's not. I think Carlos Condit is the better striker, so sorry to you GSP fans. I know GSP has good stand-up, but he is not the stand-up striker that Carlos Condit is, imposing the threat in the stand-up game. However, what he has that Carlos Condit lacks is explosiveness, athleticism, better hand speed, and more pop in his step. And Georges St-Pierre, training with Freddie Roach, his jab has come a long way since training with Freddie Roach. I mean, he could get 2 strikes off before someone gets 1 strike off. We've seen that in the Josh Koscheck fight. He utilized his stiff jab so effectively, obviously breaking the guy's orbital bone in his face. I mean, he does have good power, but is he a knockout artist? Absolutely not. But GSP can pick people apart, and he does have good weapons in his arsenal. He can throw leg kicks. He utilizes Superman punch very well. He has good pop in his step, so he's in people's faces, and then he's out of the pocket before you even know it. And utilizes elbows. He's effective in the clinch, knees, kicks, you name it. He does have a lot of weapons in his arsenal, but I think the best part of GSP's stand-up is most definitely his ability to set up his unbelievable ground game. Georges St-Pierre is relentless with his takedowns, his explosiveness. I mean, 1 second, I mean, he always keeps you guessing. You never know what is going to come next, and 1 second you think it's stand-up, he's going to throw a strike in your face. The next second you're on the deck with aggressive single leg takedown or a good double leg. He has both in his arsenal. He can also toss you down the clinch. He could do it in a variety of different formats. And once he gets you down the ground, I know people call Georges St-Pierre a sleeping pill, and I think technically you can call him that given the fact that he has not been able to finish fights recently. But you know what? Georges St-Pierre has the ability to keep people down on the ground. If you can't solve it, then you know what are you going to do? Georges St-Pierre has the ability to control people on the ground. They can't get up. So am I going to go as far as call him a sleeping pill? No, but has he struggled to finish fights recently? Yes, but I think it's due to the fact that he's such a good wrestler. So Georges St-Pierre's ground control, unbelievable. He can advance guard at will. He can posture up and rain down ground and pound. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He can finish guys by submission. Can he finish a guy like Carlos Condit? It's possible. I think it's a reach, though. Also, in regards to GSP, is that he can take the strikes. Does he have the better chin in this fight? I'd say it's a reach. Condit's a tough guy to put away, but GSP has been rocked before. He has been finished before. If Condit is to connect, I can very well see him putting GSP to sleep. I know it's a tall task, but it's definitely possible. I think the biggest factor going in this fight is that GSP's been injured. I think ring rust is a factor. Is Georges St-Pierre going to come back the same fighter that he was before? I think that's the biggest question mark going into this fight. So where I see GSP being successful, he can keep it standing. He is he's faster than Carlos Condit. He's more explosive. But why would you risk standing with Carlos Condit? His bread and butter is his stand-up. Take the fight down to the ground. The hole in Condit's game is his wrestling. GSP is an outstanding wrestler. Get the fight down the ground. If you're to get rocked, clinch up tight, get him down to the ground, work the ground and pound. If Condit's very active off his back, in order to match that, you have to be active yourself. So GSP needs to advance guard and stay active with Condit on the ground. If not, he is going to be eating a lot of strikes and submission attempts in the process. So if I see GSP, I don't see him knocking out TKOing Carlos Condit. I think submission would be a reach, but I think if this one goes to decision, there's no doubt that GSP will win this fight. He's very good at outpointing first. So I'll take, if GSP is successful in this fight, it would be via unanimous decision. So that's why I have in regards to GSP. So Carlos Condit. Carlos Condit obviously is the interim welterweight champion, defeating Nick Diaz. Some people say it was a lackluster fight. Some other people say it was a very good tactical fight with a good game plan. He still won the fight, so now he's fighting Georges St-Pierre for the title, for the real welterweight title. Carlos Condit's name is the Natural Born Killer, and that's because he has a knack for finishing fights. 13 wins by knockout, 13 wins by submission. It's purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In the stand-up game, he trains kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing. He's a very polished stand-up striker, and Condit he's so aggressive. He's constantly in your face and pushing the pace. He's not an easy guy to put away. His chin allows him to be aggressive in the process. In the stand-up game, he's not more explosive and has ideal speed like Georges St-Pierre does, but Condit's a smart stand-up fighter just like GSP is. He can pick his spots, he could push in your face, and he could utilize his leg kicks and knees and use his hands, and he's also a very good counter striker. We saw this in the Rory McDonald fight. He was able to pick his spots with Rory McDonald being aggressive. Can he do the same against GSP is a big question. But Condit has knockout power as well. Condit has the knockout power to test any welterweight's chin in the division. Is that we've seen what he can do. I mean, what he did to the stun gun, what he did to Dan Hardy, one of the few guys to put Dan Hardy to sleep, and that's not an easy thing to do. So, can Condit put GSP to sleep? I most definitely think so, but it's a matter of if he can catch GSP given his speed and his athleticism. So, Condit, most definitely the chin tester. I think he's the better stand-up fighter in this fight, but not the faster fighter, so he has to be effective in closing the distance and either doing that or counter-striking with GSP. He does not have good takedown defense. We've seen people take Carlos Condit down at will, but I think it's mostly because he has so much confidence in his guard, is that Carlos Condit's guard, his ground game is very underrated. He's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He can finish guys on his back. I don't see him getting GSP in the dominant position unless he is to rock him and get on top of him, but I see him fighting off his back in this fight, and Condit is not an easy guy to be on top of. I know people say it's easier to be on top. Well, not when you're fighting Carlos Condit, is that he's going to make you work for every single thing that you're going to do. He's constantly throwing up elbows and strikes. He's constantly attempting submissions. He's constantly rolling and trying to get up. He's not an easy guy to have on the ground. And GSP cannot take any time off. I know GSP is a good ground fighter, but he has to be ready for this. He has to match Condit's aggressive guard with aggression himself. So Condit's a tough guy on his back. He is susceptible to submissions. He has been submitted before. That was early on in his career. But, it's possible. I think it would be a reach for GSP to submit him, but anything's possible. So regardless of Carlos Condit, too, is that he is so battle-tested. He's got a great chin. He's not easy to put away. He's very aggressive, fights with good cardio and good pace, just like Georges St-Pierre does. Where I see Carlos Condit being successful in this fight, there is no myth to this one, is that you cannot go to decision with Georges St-Pierre. He will beat you, given that he will outpoint you with his takedowns and his jabs. But I think Carlos Condit needs to finish this fight either via TKO, knockout, or submission. I think submission's the biggest reach, but if he's to wobble Georges St-Pierre, he's got to be aggressive and going for the kill. You cannot be tactical in this fight. I think he's got to be aggressive, but at the same time, he's got to try and pick his spots, because if that's the case, he's only getting five chances to stand up in this fight if he is able to get it into 5 rounds. So got to finish the fight. It's either got to be by knockout, TKO, or submission in the long shot. So finish the fight. Do not let it go to decision. So where my prediction lies in this fight, quite frankly, I think Carlos Condit poses a lot of threats to Georges Stand-Pierre. Well, at least in the stand-up department. I think he could most definitely finish Georges St-Pierre in the stand-up department, but GSP is not dumb. I'm going to have to go with the favorite in this one. Georges St-Pierre's wrestling is outstanding part of his game, the best part of his game, and that's the biggest hole in Carlos Condit's game, and there's no better guy controlling people on the ground than Georges St-Pierre. If this one is to stay standing, I can see Condit finishing it, but I don't see that happening. I would like to see GSP finish in this fight, but I do not see it happening. I think Georges St-Pierre is going to come in, he's going to utilize his wrestling, he's going to fight smart on his feet, but as soon as Condit starts to get in his rhythm, he's going to dump him down to the deck, and he's going to utilize his wrestling for 5 rounds. Even though Condit gets 5 rounds to stand up, he's also going to be dumped on his back for 5 rounds. I hate to discredit Condit because I think he's a great fighter, but I think that Georges St-Pierre is going to wrestle him for 5 rounds. He's going to win this fight via unanimous decision and remain the welterweight champion in the UFC. So I'll take Georges St-Pierre defeating Carlos Condit via unanimous decision at UFC 154. And that's what I have for this edition. It's Kyle Delaney signing off.